financial habits early on will definitely benefit you for a road to success financially in your wealth creation. I have with me my partner, Robbie, and I'll let Robbie introduce himself as well.
Hey y'all, I'm Robbie Varghese. I'm a banker for Fifth Third. Been with the company for about 3 years, so really excited. This is kind of one of my favorite things to do, is get to speak to you all to kind of make an impact to where you can kind of set those healthy habits and kind of get an idea of what you want to do in the future and how you want to get there money-wise. So financial literacy is very, very important to all of us. Hopefully it starts to creep into your mind. I know when I was in school, budgeting and savings wasn't really the forefront of my mind, so hopefully you just get a couple of nice habits, but you still have fun, because college is a great experience, and we're really looking forward to the successes that you guys are going to have. So hopefully you guys get a lot of information out of this, all of these sessions, whether you're from Dr. Smallenberger's class or Dr. Gupta or any of the teachers. We're really excited to be here.
All right, perfect. So what we're going to cover today is budgeting and savings, and I also have some information around some financial wellness. So each of our students here at Belmont Abbey, along with the faculty and staff, can participate in a online financial wellness platform. And the QR code will help you register at the end of the seminar, but I just want to share with you that you're going to be able to have lots of different resources available to you, not only from this workshop, if you join one of the other 4 later on today, but then your own self-paced financial wellness learning as well. So let's get started. All right, so what percentage of Americans have a budget? You can shout it out, you can raise your hand. What's the answer to that? What do you think the number of Americans that have a budget? What's that number?
For how many heads out of 10, it looks like?
Right? 3? Yep. What's the percentage? Anybody? We should have participation prizes as well.
75.
Oh gosh, that's fantastic. It's really close. The actual number is going to be 67%. So based on the number of individuals that have a budget, that's going to be fairly high. Great answer. And so we're going to kind of see where do you land? I mean, so you guys are in school. You have to probably budget your financial affairs. And so looking at the class that we have here today, I mean, that kind of falls in line, right? So there's probably about 44 out of 10 individuals that doesn't really follow a budget. They just, spend the money that's in their bank account. All right, this is another question, a polling question. How many couples actually hide finances from their spouse? Any idea on that? We're giving you 15%, 25%, or 41%.
Anybody married in here?
Anybody married? No, not at all. Perfect. Okay, so what's our answer here?
25, 41 back there.
41. You are absolutely correct. It is 41%. And why do you think people hide money from their spouse? Why do you think that happens? So they won't spend it? Well, that's a good answer. What else? Any ideas?
Maybe they're like ashamed of how they use the money.
Right. They're spending it on wants versus needs. Yeah, exactly. So those are some good answers. Robbie, what would you say? Why do you think people hide you're a banker because you know this by experience.
Just bad habits. I mean, honestly, a lot of people, just like you said, being ashamed, those kind of things. You don't want people to know, like, some of the stuff that you're spending money on. Especially, you don't want to see a lot of money going out the door. When you have a spouse, you have other people to think about too as well. So if it's not something that you're used to, then typically you're like, well, maybe I'll kind of keep that to myself. I think you hit the nail on the head right there.
Perfect. All right, we're going to do a budget breakdown. And so the elements of a budget fall into 3 separate categories. We have income, expenses, and then savings or wealth. So let's cover income first. Income, anybody here, raise your hand, have earned income? Anybody have a job? Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, perfect. So you guys are already making financial decisions. So your earned income, You also have other sources of income, which are bonuses, child support, that sort of information. And so we also then have the elements expenses. Currently, you guys, if you're paying for any type of rent, your car payment, a mortgage payment, food, clothing, charitable, your tidings for the church, those are your expenses. You know they are required for you every single month. There's no negotiation. If you don't make one of those obligations happen, there's negative consequences that can occur. Your car can be repossessed. You can, your eviction for rent. So there's negative consequences under those expenses. So those are definite obligations. The third category, wealth creation. You guys are at such a great age right now, beginning in your life cycle, right? You're going to have 50, 60 years of earning opportunity. Creating savings and wealth habits is perfect for now. So you want to go ahead and look at personal savings, retirement. If you join a company that offers a 401k plan or a 403b, it's in education, you definitely want to participate in that. There's no question about that. That's how you're going to be able to change not only your future, but you can leave legacy for your children as well. College savings, wealth savings. Perfect. So let's take account. We got to know where our money is coming from, and then where is it going. So the first thing is review your pay stubs, right? You want to know what your obligations have been. Calculate your real take-home pay. Gross income minus payroll taxes is after-tax income. So that's going to be your net income, your take-home. That's how you create your budget. You basically plan on what you are actually receiving in your paycheck into your bank account every month. Let's see here. And then you have, of course, insurance premiums, 401k, that sort of thing. Those are all taken out prior to your net pay. So that's a good thing. You want to definitely set that aside. And then you have any other sources of income. And we talked about that earlier. You wouldn't have necessarily child support or alimony or those sorts of things, but perhaps your parents are giving you income. Perhaps you're receiving scholarship money or student grants. Those are also sources of income for you right now where you need to make financial decisions and budgeting. Next, we want to capture where your money is going. And Robbie, we have a worksheet. Why don't we go ahead and pass that one out? We want to list. My best practice is either finding an app or finding some source that you're writing down and calculating where your money is going. So if you have a Visa bill or if you have a car payment, when's that due date, and then what's the amount you're going to pay on it. So having a calendar available or an app is the best source of knowing where your expenses are going. And you're going to record that in a 2 to 3 month history, minimally. So, I mean, I got in the habit of years ago of recording exactly what my payments are every single month. So I know exactly, I could go back history and see where my money has gone. And that gives me a visual also of reduction of debt. We're going to cover that a little bit later in strategies to reduce debt, but it's a very good visual. Next, you're going to look at your history online. So hopefully all of you have bank accounts at this point in time. Raise your hand if you have a checking account. Almost everybody. Perfect. And do you have a savings account? Perfect. Are you contributing to your savings account monthly? Yeah, that's where we tend to see, right, Robbie? That's where we tend to see people are not paying themselves first. Creation of wealth begins with you. You saving your own money, putting it aside. We recommend 10 to 20%. So we all have checking accounts. Most of us have savings accounts, but did you see the fewer hands go up when I said, are you contributing regularly? That's how you want to begin, is starting with your income, and then we'll talk about what percentage is right for you. Next, think of any large expenses that may not be included in your current expense history. You'll find this as you are maturing and getting out into the world. You're going to have property taxes on your vehicle and your home. Those are large payments along with your car insurance, large one-time payments, usually annually. You can break it up to over 12 months, so you can pay a smaller portion every single month. Those are those obligations. You can't avoid those. That is a absolutely must, that you have to pay property taxes and insurance and those obligations that are required. So I just touched on this. How much of your money are you saving? You know, so savings is a big opportunity for you for that wealth creation. Typically, we recommend 10% to 20%. So if you have earned income of $1,000, how much would that be in a 10% bracket?
Quick math.
Quick math. You're right, absolutely, $100. So we recommend, again, any of your earned income, you are automatically creating a habit for yourself that you're putting a percentage or a dollar amount specifically into your savings account. That's, we see approximately, the statistics say that 67% of Americans do not have a $400 savings account to pay for an emergency. So I want you all to be a change in that statistic and start creating that savings account now. So we just passed out a budgeting worksheet. This is a paper form, but it breaks down certain categories. So we have, and you can see, household, we have rent, cell phone, other household expenses, utilities, electric, water. All of those are obligations that you'll need to budget and pay for in the future. Obviously, food is another big expense in the household. And so there's alternative ways that you can shop and you can save money on groceries. What would possibly one of those be? I'm losing my words. What would be an expense that on your grocery bill you can reduce? How would you reduce your grocery bill? I'm sorry? Coupons. Yeah. And how about, okay, grocery stores typically put all their most, pricey items right there in eye view. So you want to go to the top, go to the bottom, shop alternative grocery stores, Aldi's, as an example, some different ways. Yes, ma'am. Off brands, 100%. Great suggestion. You are 100% right. All right, we also have transportation, car payments. Oh my goodness, car payments, gasoline. Who's seen an increase in gas prices recently? Right? Are you commuting to and from school? Yep, exactly. I did too. And also you can also see personal care, clothes, toiletry, dry cleaners, that sort of thing. Entertainment is definitely, that is a want versus a need. Entertainment is just your pleasure of eating out or going to the movies or going to a concert. If you like those things, you have to budget. Healthcare, which would be prescriptions, the dentist, the doctor, insurance premiums, budgeting for that as well. And then miscellaneous, car payments, gifts. We're getting ready to enter into a spending habit season. Fourth quarter, typically individuals will overspend their budget. Why is that? Because we're going to hit October, November, December, January, and then the reality comes back into format in February, and we realize we've overspent and we need to now figure out how are we going to pay this excessive debt. We've financed our holidays. Let's not do that. Let's create a savings account starting now, and so next fourth quarter, 2023, you won't feel that pressure to have to spend and finance your fun and your holiday. All right, I'm going to turn it over to my teammate Robbie. Robbie, you want to take the mic?
Sure. I will absolutely do that.
All righty.
This is fancy. I can't see anything at all. Okay, so realigning. Once again, I'm Robbie. I know it's early, and I try and make this as real as possible. I remember what it was like when I was in college. I didn't save a lot, so I'll be transparent with you. It is very tough to save when you're in college because there's a lot of things that you want to do. You want to go out, you want to do activities, you want to see your friends. Are a lot of you guys staying on campus, or and then some of you are commuting? So there's a lot of different expenses, but I'm sure you do want to go off campus. I'm sure you guys want to have fun. We're not going to tell Mr. Brad here or Dr. Smallenberger what we do in our free time, but I know that we spend money, right? So realigning is very, very important to what your needs are. We have a couple of things that we have here, and we always keep this in mind. 50, 30, 20. 50% are going to be your needs, 30% are going to be your wants, and 20% are going to be your savings. Now, let's be honest. Is anybody here paying a mortgage? Is anybody paying rent? No? We don't really have the need for that to be on there. So some of our needs get adjusted, some of our wants get adjusted depending on where we are in life. So I don't want you guys to take this for a fact, because this is just kind of an understanding of where we should be once we start to get into the workforce and kind of start our careers. So it's something to think about as we kind of go along. But what are needs? What would you say is a need for somebody that's a commuter? A car? So yeah, absolutely. So with a car comes insurance, it comes gas, so those are things that we absolutely need.
You have to budget for repairs on that car.
Exactly. So again, usually when you get an oil change, unless you got an electric car, right? So, but not everybody has one of those, right? So those are things that are needs that are more at the forefront instead of mortgage or rent or utilities and things like that. Wants. What would you say is a normal want for you? Junk? Hey, honestly, it could. Yeah, I love that because it's very broad. Everybody has their own type of junk that they like. Everybody has their own vices that they like. And then, be honest, for those of you that work, because I know some of you are just full-time students, some of you guys are working, raise your hand if you're actually putting money into your savings account. Okay? And when you get your paycheck, let's go back. Who actually looks at their paycheck? Do you actually look at your paycheck, or do you just look at what got deposited in? Yeah, a little bit. I'll be honest, I didn't look at my paycheck at all. I just knew that they were taking a lot of money from me, right? So I was like, okay, well this stinks. I worked so hard. I did all this, and back when I was first starting in the workforce, minimum wage was $5.15. So it really hasn't went up that much in North Carolina, but $5.15 is a lot big of a difference for $7.25, I think now. So being able to kind of look at that paycheck, thinking about how much that you want to take and you want to keep, because we always want to think about what our net worth is as we kind of get older, because we want to take that to the next level, increasing wealth, incrementally increasing it. So savings, 20%, I know it's very difficult, but it's something that you want to start incorporating into your daily lifestyle, okay? So again, these are a little bit skewed because housing, utilities, insurance, like some of them might be applicable to you, some of them may not. So again, our needs may be adjusted based on that, and we have to think about what our actual income is coming in. So if some of you guys are just working part-time jobs, you got to think about, okay, well, if I'm making $500, every week or every 2 weeks, then where am I budgeting at? So who here has a credit card? Okay, bless you, 1, 2, 3. So we always want to make sure that we're making a minimum payment. So you're going to talk about that in your Boost Your Credit, but that does have to be understood for budgeting and savings, because you are budgeting for that need that you have to pay that expense. I don't think anybody's got child support. Who pays their own cell phone bill? You guys are lucky. And so, once you start doing that, you just start budgeting for that, okay? And they'll talk about the difference between a cell phone bill and what like a car payment is for credit too as well. Clear wants. I'll tell you what, when I was in school, my wants were probably up at like 50%. because that was really, I went to class, I did everything that I needed to do, and then after that, I wanted to go out to eat. And really, all of my money I was getting from like intramural reffing and all that stuff, just doing odd jobs around campus. So, and then, again, everybody wants to maybe get a new shirt or eat out, get some sushi, whatever it may be. And then you always want to spend money on yourself. So this is your time to kind of grow and experience a lot of things. So the wants may go up, and then as you get a little bit older, now my wants go down. I don't buy anything for myself anymore. I really just buy stuff for my dogs and my wife now. So, I mean, at the end of the day, your wants will start to change and things will start to go. So as you see, needs and wants will always overlap, but you have to categorize those expenses. You got to be very, very careful. I mean, sometimes you think that wants are needs, and sometimes you think that needs are wants, but you really have to be able to take that worksheet and really kind of sit down, okay, what do I actually have to budget for? A basic service can be a need. I would say 20 years ago, a cell phone really wasn't that much of a need. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 16 years old, but now I think, most people get a cell phone around like 10 years old, I think is the average now. So, I mean, it's pretty wild to me. But these days, you really, really have to be have to be in line with everybody, be able to communicate with your parents and so on and so forth.
Another one that has come into fruition is internet, right? We used to not have internet. We would have, dial-up or a modem, and now most places have wireless, and so they've got to pay for that service as well. So as technology advances, as does some of the other expenses as well. So when you think about your cable bill, if you want to have that wireless internet in your house or your apartment or your condo, that's an expense. You're going to have to pay for that now. Yep.
100%. And features could fall under wants. So, I mean, having, let's just say, an unlimited plan, I think that's a good example, comparatively speaking to like, a 20 meg plan. I don't really know what the plans are these days, but couldn't be more of a want than a need. So again, you have to think about what is smart for your lifestyle, for your budget, for everything that you need. Most likely, I would think most of you all need unlimited. You guys seem like you like your phones too as well, right? So, and then right now, building savings. So again, incorporating that budget into your lifestyle is very, very huge. We say 20%, but again, it varies. Even if you start with 5 and then you start working your way up, if you were to do $50 a month, what would 12 months look like of savings if you did $50 a month?
Like that.
You got it. I mean, that may not seem like a lot, but that could be that $400 car expense or whatever it may be. And that's what's so great about having that. I always think, okay, what happens on a rainy day if something does go wrong? I always want to make sure that I have, 3 months rent and utilities and bills and everything like that. That's what I always want to have in my savings account. I think in 2016, J.D. Power did a study, and it was 92% of Americans didn't have more than $2,000 in a savings account.
92%.
Yeah, it was, I mean, which may seem like, oh, okay, well, how come they don't have $2,000? But a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, or they have had an expense, or they put money onto a credit, or they've used their credit card and exhausted it. So, and then think about what happened in 2020. The world sort of shut down. I mean, you guys went through a really, really interesting period as high schoolers, because I think most of you guys are freshmen, sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, a little bit higher. Okay, good. So, but then you experienced a really interesting freshman year of college then, right? So the world kind of shut down. People lost their jobs. People were really kind of fighting tooth and nail to make sure that they can make their next mortgage payment or their car payment. So, again, I don't know what the stats are now, but now I know people are thinking about budgeting a little bit more. So when life hits you, it hits you hard too as well. So you always want to be prepared.
And also, I mean, the government just raised our interest rates, right? We just had another interest rate hike that went into play yesterday,
Yeah. So reducing consumer debt is always a big thing. That's how you're gonna, if you don't have to pay, the credit card companies or a lot of those things, then you can put more money back into your savings account. So as you start to knock those things down, that's going to be a lot more helpful. Or after you've done your bills. I mean, that's why a budgeting worksheet is so great, is because you always want to think about what you can take and keep with all your expenses going through. So that way you can set that, hey, maybe it's $25. At this point in your life, maybe $25 is the start for your savings, but it gives you that habit. And then once you start to increase your wealth, increase your paycheck, then you start moving to 50. I had to do it myself. I mean, it was something where, I wasn't saving. I wasn't thinking about what was going to happen 5 years down the road. My thing was, hey, we're living right now, we're living in the present, and that's what we want to do. So it really is kind of something that you kind of build over time, and it's all about habits. So evaluating expenses, I'll be honest, this mortgage stuff really doesn't apply to you. If you do end up buying a house, then you can start looking at these things, but I want this to be as real as possible, and none of you guys have a mortgage, right? Okay, so we're going to go right to the fuel costs, okay? So we want to save on gas, right? I mean, I think national average is probably somewhere around like $3.75 or something like that. Around here, probably around $3.50. But we also want to be a sensible driver. I mean, who here is a really sensible driver? I think I got a smirk right there. I don't know. Yeah, you think you're a really sensible driver?
I try.
Yeah, we all try. We always want to make sure that we're not just leaving our car on. I think we kind of got the hint, like, hey, we can't just sit in our car anymore and just like take a nap. I used to do that when I was working and stuff. I would just like bring a pillow, like working outside of the mall and stuff. And now we want to make sure that we're using our cruise controls if we have it. Making sure that we're observing the speed limit. When we start like gunning it, we're wasting gas. We may need to be there, but maybe we need to get up 5 minutes earlier. This is a note to myself. I'll make sure I think about that too. Who's actually hauling roof cargo on a daily basis? Are you guys? Yeah, I don't think that's applicable.
No, but I will say, if you have like golf clubs or you have sporting equipment in your trunk, and you really are just hauling that extra weight. Excuse me, I have a lot in my trunk because of my job. But I try when I don't need to have it in my trunk, take it out because that extra weight is actually again, it affects your fuel. So definitely take out anything in the trunk that's heavy, you don't need to use on a daily basis.
And one of the biggest things is making sure if you are driving or if you own a car is making sure you keep up to date with your services, making sure you keep up to date with your tires, making sure that everything's running smoothly, because you are going to waste gas if, say for example, you don't get your oil change for 5,000 miles over the due date, or making sure that it helps the longevity of your car. Car is a big purchase as well as a depreciating asset, so making sure you get the life of that is very, very important. And then biggest thing that we've noticed now that you see things like the Hov Lane, I don't know if anybody lives up near the lake or is from that area. I want to jump in that lane all the time because I live up in Cornelius, but I try not to because it's very expensive. But if you carpool, then you can save on gas, number one, and you can save on those toll lanes, and you can skip that terrible traffic. I know we got some people that got cars, so anytime you get into something like loans and insurance, you always want to make sure you're understanding your rate and your term. If you have a 60-month term, that's 5 years, right? How do we reduce the principal payment on that? How do we reduce everything that we need? And then you can always look to try and refinance when you're in a better position, which they will probably talk to you a little bit in your boosting your credit class too as well. And then I think rule of thumb, I don't know about these days, but rule of thumb, every 2 years usually I look at kind of who my car insurance provider is and if I can find a better rate, if I can find different things like that. It's okay. Like personally, I will be transparent. I have multiple bank accounts, and you always want to make sure that you're looking to see what's the best available. if you're not looking at opportunity cost, and if that's something that you haven't put at the forefront, you always want to look at those things and make sure that you have options. It's better to have multiple options than just one option, because most likely you're going to shoehorn yourself, right? And checking for discounts. We talked about couponing, going to Costco or different things like that. Those are big, big things about how you can save. Granted, you may not have enough space in your dorm room to be able to buy, 40 juice boxes or something like that and house them, but you can always look for different kind of ways to save like that. Utilities, again, not really as applicable to you guys, because I know some of you guys are either commuting or living in the dorms, so I don't think you have utility bills. So we'll kind of skip past that, but as you get older, you'll start to look into that a little bit more. We talked about this a little bit. Janine's a very good grocery shopper is what I hear. So, building lists. I know personally, she was talking about, oh, well, you got to look up at the top. I can't reach the top shelf all the time. So it does get tough for me if that's where the cheaper stuff is. I like when the stuff is on the bottom. But making sure that you're using off-brands if you can. Making sure that you're doing the wholesale clubs. I always look at how much it is per unit, and if I'm going to use that, it's a weird thing, but it's something that makes me feel good inside. And then always using my, my VIC card or MVP coupon too as well. So those are really, really important. And I'm one of those people that walks in, I grab my cart, and I grab that little newspaper thing, and I'm like looking through it, and everybody's just staring at me. So it's a pleasure of mine. And that pretty much wraps it up. We are kind of open it for questions. I know that it is early. I really, really appreciate you guys' engagement. And what do you guys think about the presentation first? Do you feel like it's applicable to you guys?
Yeah, somewhat.
Somewhat? So which parts did you feel like?
Well, like utilities and stuff, like most of us really don't have to do that.
Right. Is it something that you feel like you can take into the future and kind of get an idea? Which part benefited you the most, do you feel like? What do you think, David?
All right.
Just like savings, probably savings account.
Yeah, it is tough. I can't reiterate it enough. When I was your age, savings wasn't really at the forefront of my mind, and that's just being real and transparent. I really enjoyed my college times. I really liked going out to eat, hanging out with my friends, and doing things like that. If I go back, maybe I'd save $5, each week or something like that, and that's just a good habit to kind of start. You don't just move the mountain right away. You've got to kind of climb your way up and get to the top. So it's all about starting those good habits. That budget worksheet is something that I currently use. It's something that I've forced people to kind of use, like some of my clients too as well, because if you don't actually take a step back and look at it and give yourself that, hey, this is what I need to do, then you're not really holding yourself accountable. And one of my favorite words is accountability. So we do that on a daily basis. Now that I'm married, I have an accountability buddy. So it does make life a little bit easier. So I'm not one of those 41% of people who doesn't share their finances with their spouse, but I'm sure, even just going back to your parents and saying, hey, how do I save more money? How do I find, things that I can do a little bit better, find more income from different various sources? It may be your own paycheck, it may be the way that you're driving, it may be the way that you're eating out.
Great point, Robbie. And you think about it. I mean, it's a habit. It's for the future. And if you just did quick math, you save $20 every paycheck. You get paid twice a month. So that's $40 a month times 12. That's your 480. You are beating the statistics 1 year from now if you just save $20 a paycheck or $40 a month. And then you multiply that and you keep that habit going for another 3 years, $1,440. And that's just in a year. And so when I think about it, you just by setting aside $20 a paycheck. Okay? So you guys you can see how easy it can add up. You've got the benefit of time on your side, and that's an absolutely wonderful thing for you. And you can multiply that times a higher number, and you can definitely be on that pathway to creation of wealth. So the last thing I'd like to say, and I thought about this when over the insurance, if you are your parents are currently paying for your insurance on your vehicles, right? Or paying for your cell phone, those are things that as you build your credit score, which is going to come up next, boosting your credit, the higher your credit score, the lower your premiums are. And so whether you take out a loan, take out a mortgage, even car insurance, all of those premiums go down based on your risk factor. So protecting your credit is super important. That is probably one of the foremost benefits that I would share with you as you begin to get into the workforce and you become working adults, is protecting your credit so that you can have advantages on interest rates and premiums as well to save money. So what other questions are there? Any other questions? No? You guys going to stick around for boosting your credit? All right. Well, we have our credit counselors downstairs. I definitely want everyone to sign up for checking your credit score with our credit counselors downstairs. We'd love to have your feedback. Thank you for your engagement and participation. I know it's early, but hopefully you'll come back to one of our other workshops later on today. We have Boost Your Credit, Protecting Your Identity, Strategies to Slash Debt. There's actually 4 strategies. And we have How to Plan for an Emergency as well. So those are your workshops available. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.